All right, everybody. So I'm making a few switch ups here. Red van is just about done. And if you guys have watched the channel, you know that I had built out a camper setup for my 2011 Sienna. And this is essentially it in the biggest parts. That's the bed platform. Of course, the cushions are missing, and this is the whole driver's side counter setup. So my white van will ultimately end up going to my son, who will be getting his driver's license here in the next 6 months or so. My red van will turn into my new camping rig, and then this whole cabinet setup, because I'm returning my white Sienna back to kind of its original configuration, to my buddy Danny, and we're going to install this right now. Danny has a beautiful 2005 Sienna. It's only got about 120,000 miles on it. He spent the last couple weeks, he went through and he had to replace his own timing belt, which he did. He put a 2-inch Traxta lift on this Sienna and some 245, 65, 17 wheels. And he actually ended up buying some Camry wheels off the marketplace. And this is a beautiful, beautiful van for this setup. And so we're going to go ahead and do the install. But for some of you guys who may not have seen this setup in its bare bones, this is the bed. This is in its folded up in its couch configuration. Now back here where these slides are would be this section right here. So you guys can see the other side of the drawer slides. And then this is the whole cabinet for the driver's side. Now this is a second gen Toyota Sienna, and this was originally designed and built for a third gen. We're gonna see, but I think it should largely fit in there, maybe with just some little modifications. But pretty simple once you pull it out. It only took us about 45 minutes to pull it out of the old one. So I'll show you guys as the install goes and any adaptations that we have to make. All right, so we did an initial dry fit. And keep in mind that this is putting in furniture that's designed for a third gen into a second gen. And in short, everything fit pretty well. Now, just the way that Danny wanted it, this cabinet over here sits forward just a little bit, not much. So you could see that there was a little bit of a difference in terms of the contour. It's actually not that much, but a little bit of difference there. Bed fit in. We're going to have to shim this up at the bottom a little bit, meaning that the second gen well actually seems deeper, or the overall floor is higher. I'm not sure which one, but minor difference, totally fixable. The connections in the rear here, it's a little bit forward of those. It'll actually go back a little bit when we get in its final position, but that will connect there. Now there was some differences in the connection up here, because on the third gen, there's moving trolleys. So what I did here is I had moved the trolley and attached it right down there. You can see those holes. So what we're thinking we can do is we're going to put a thick piece of wood across here, and we'll connect it down here on this connection point. And then on the inside floor in there, the C-clamp, let me show you guys. You guys might not know what I'm talking about here. I probably should have started with this. So this is held in place with these C-clamps right here. So the C-clamp part goes underneath the fixed brackets in the floor of the Sienna, and then these go through up the wood, have this big spacer washer thing here, and tighten them down. That's what it holds into. So the thing that we're trying to do is find positions to where in this, because the second gen, these little connection points for the seats, which is what we're wrapping the C-clamps under, are a little bit different than they were in the third gen. So, but this whole floor down here is all wood, so that gives us place where, as long as we just get it lined up, we just drill the holes, we should be able to encircle the C-clamps and tighten it down. So few minor modifications, but all things considered, pretty easy. and pretty amazing how close the fit was. All right, guys, maybe, I don't know, an hour and a half of fiddling, which I didn't think was too bad. Everything is in place, and it fit pretty good. This lined up very close enough. We had to wedge it up a little bit, and we had to wedge up down here just a little bit, but the bed is nice and flat. And amazingly, this side cabinet went in. A few modifications we had to make. If you guys recall, I was able, on the 3rd gen, I was able to slide over the trolley and attach, there's some screw holes down there. But what we did is that didn't line up that way, so we put a threaded rod in between here and just tightened that down with the fixed point there, which is totally fine. So that worked out totally good. You can see, just because of the shape here, the 3rd gen, I think the door is actually slightly smaller. So there's this little gap here. Danny didn't mind the inside gap here. In fact, he could maybe reach in and grab stuff if he needed to. But this upper portion here, and I'll show you guys for the end of the video, I'm going to cut another piece of walnut. We'll trim it up nice and neat to here, finish it this way. It'll have a little step up here, but I think it will make it look nice, and it'll just be like before. I had a fridge in this space. Danny's not going to do that. He's going to put a fridge in behind that passenger seat, but this gives him all kinds of storage here to do some stuff. And then on the inside of here, I just had to cut a new location for those holes. You guys can see right there. No big deal, but we got it all bolted down. So overall, I mean, I know this is a kind of an obscure topic, but if anyone wanted to take a build kit from a 2nd or a 3rd gen and put it in a 2nd gen, everything is not perfect, but it's close enough to work. So kind of an interesting little observation. We're going to wrap up a few things, and then I'll show you the final look when we're done. All right, so we have her all buttoned up here. So we got the bed in, that fit fine. Got the battery system in place. We had to make a modification right here just because this bolts into the side of the bed, so we just had to add an extra space. No big deal, but the battery system, bed fit in there. And then we got the cabinet in place. Tomorrow we're going to put another coat, but this is just a block piece that kind of connected and modified the slight difference between the 2nd and 3rd gen there. I think it looks just like a nice little addition. Plus, if you guys remember, actually it's right here, I think this was an extra little light that we had mounted in here. And I think Danny, we're still debating, but I think he's going to pound it right here on top of that little piece of walnut. So that works out well. But yeah, otherwise, this thing largely fit in there with 0 problems. And looks really, really nice in here. Nice addition to this beautiful Sienna minivan. And this camper setup, you guys will see it. The red one, I did something different, but I have to admit, this setup right here is arguably one of the more practical setups for the camper. This whole couch system, of course, converts down into a bed. So, but just wanted to kind of show you guys what it looks like in the removal process and the installation. And I know it's a very obscure and specific thing, but if anyone is interested in modifications between a 2nd or a 3rd gen to a 2nd gen, you guys can see that there are some differences, but they aren't substantial. So hope this is helpful to somebody, or at least of some interest.